Hey, Julian here from Homer Marketing, where we schedule qualified estimates directly in the calendars of painting contractors all across the US and Canada. In this video, I interview Braxton Curtis, which is a contractor, is a dad, is a podcaster. I mean, he's pretty much everything you can think of. Excited to show you guys our conversation, and hopefully you enjoy.
You are a sum of the 5 people you hang around with. Everybody's heard that. As a contractor, typically the 5 people you're hanging around with most are not the best of influences. Things that they do are drinking, smoking, eating like shit. So you fall into that, oh shit, now I'm in a cycle again. I'm no longer the owner. I'm just like them. The business is hard. You don't make as much as you used to be able to make as a contractor. So these guys are burned out. Yeah. All right. Well, my name is Braxton. I am a serial entrepreneur all the way around. Where I actually met you was through running an online agency or a SMMA for home improvement companies. We scaled it up to about 30K a month, just under 30K. So I can't confidently say that, but we ran it solo, and I decided to kind of jump ship from it. I realized that wasn't the best way to serve my people, and I am still working with a few contractors, but I'm finding new and innovative ways to serve them. I also run podcasts. I've been a multinational touring DJ, professional longboarder. I've done a lot of different things under the moon, and now I'm trying some new creative things, and we'll see where this takes me.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me about how you got into this. How did you get into the whole, running ads for construction companies?
So I was a contractor myself, and there's a huge gap between the physical world and the digital online world. And there's very few people out there that have the experience that I do of working, like actually building houses, and that actually know how to optimize a funnel and run ads and write copy. So I'm like, okay, there's a gap, I can fill it. And I really liked what I was doing. However, what I learned, or relearned is what I should say, is most contractors horrible business owners, like the worst types of business owners. No shame against them, just most of them, they didn't really want to get into that business. They just kind of fell into it. So they do the bare minimum just to get by. So I figured, well, maybe I can make their lives just 5% better. Then I will be successful and I'll feel good about myself. And unfortunately, my life got 5% worse by working with them. So yeah, hope that answers your question.
That's really interesting. I mean, it goes to a lot to show that this isn't really easy as people, would think, oh, they just run ads online. It's like, well,
No.
it's tough mentally too. So one thing I really wanted to chat about here is really the mindset of contractors. I think you've really dived in a lot into that yourself, probably,
Yeah.
self, reflecting on yourself about that. So when you say a contractor, they're bad business owners, what exactly do you mean? Somebody listening to this, how can they, maybe look at themselves and improve themselves?
Sure. So there's always like four main things, and this is for any business that you need to focus on, not just to be a successful business owner, but to be a successful person overall. And it's your health, wealth, love, and faith. Whether what those things mean to you is completely irrelevant, but if you focus on those four things, your life tends to be pretty good. Well, contractors, and I'm guilty of this myself, don't tend to focus on any one of those things at all. Constantly eating fast food and junk food, not taking care of their finances because they're constantly eating bad food out. They spend because they think the only way to become a professional is to have the highest amount of tools, the newest truck. So they eat poorly, they spend poorly. They typically are too tired and too worn out at the end of the day to practice any sort of faith or to have any sort of discipline, which if you don't believe in God or anything like that, that's fine. Everybody's got their own like church, so to speak, whether it's podcasting or running or going to the gym, whatever it is. And then most of them don't work out either. So they don't take care of any one of those sections in their life, and they just start to crumble, unfortunately.
Yeah, why do you think that is? Why do you think they end up in that, negative loop?
Well, the business is hard. First and foremost, you are up early. You're typically the only time you see daylight is when you're on a job site. Unfortunately, with how our economy is right now, you don't make as much as you used to be able to make as a contractor. Or let me say the ratios are way off. $20 an hour now is only like $5 an hour back then. Like it doesn't work out. So these guys are burned out. They're always on the go, and it makes it way easier to fall into that loop than to do the hard thing and to make yourself better.
No, yeah, and that's true too. I've seen a lot of people get into the trade and then go into that negative loop and have to kind of catch themselves or have people to catch them. I
Yep.
think we could agree that the main thing though is that you get so stuck in the day-to-day that you forget that you're running a company and it just
Yeah.
becomes your job essentially.
Yeah.
And for you, you said you've fallen into that trap a little bit. Obviously, now
Yeah.
you've realized that you've fallen into that trap. Was that after, looking back at the events, or was that, maybe towards the end and that's when you kind
Mm.
of decided to move things around?
That's a good question. I think I always knew. I think most people, when they go down a bad path, I think everybody has that voice in the back of their head that says that this isn't right. But, being tired is just like being drunk. Your inhibitions start to go away. Maybe in the morning you were super motivated to go to the gym after work and things like that. But then after 8 hours, maybe you're laying tile and your back hurts and it's 90 degrees outside. That motivation just it fades. And, the difference between motivation and discipline is motivation does fade, discipline stays the same. And since they're not taking care of themselves, since they're stressed about money, now that they're tired and their back hurts, they're like, F this, I'm not going to the gym. I'm going home. I'm going to hit McDonald's on the way home. This is my instant gratification. I'm going to shower. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to restart tomorrow. So I think people know what's going on, but they don't have that motivation to make that change. And the discipline just isn't there.
No, yeah, that's so true. And it's very interesting that you say that because the biggest thing I've noticed is that even for myself, I'll fall into one of those loops. I'll know that I'm in the loop, but it doesn't feel wrong to get out of it. It's like, well, I'm still living, it's fine. I can go eat some, more candy or whatever,
Hmm.
whatever I'm trying to not do. And it feels like the moment that you start to say no to your wants, the moment that you can get back control, right? Like anytime I see myself drifting away, I'm like, okay, I want to do something, I'm not going to do it. And then the more that you vote towards that personality, like every time that you do it, it brings me back to being more self-disciplined. And somebody told me this at one point. It's like you have to trust yourself. Like, how can you trust other people around you if you can't even trust yourself? You say you're going to do one thing and then you do the other thing.
Yeah.
It's like the moment that you can trust yourself, then your word to
Yeah.
yourself becomes more powerful and you can do more powerful things. When you say, I will do this, since you can now trust yourself, you're more likely to do it.
Exactly. Exactly. I think another big part of why contractors get stuck in this loop too is the people, you are a sum of the five people you hang around with. Everybody's heard that. As a contractor, typically the five people you're hanging around with most are not the best of influences. Typically you're hiring people. And just to pre-frame this conversation, I dropped out of high school. I didn't go to college. I've never been arrested or anything like that. But typically, the people that you are around all day, between 8 and 15 hours a day, are dropouts, drug addicts, alcoholics. So naturally, say you're this god of a human being. If you hang around five of those people every day for 12 hours a day, you're going to become them. And there's nothing that you can do about that. And you know, people here, in order to get along, you got to go along. So in order to connect with your guys, the people that you want working for you, you have to do the things that they do. The things that they do are drinking, smoking, eating like shit. So you fall into that. Oh shit, now I'm in a cycle again. I'm no longer the owner. I'm a I'm just like them.
That's really interesting. And that's something that I've noticed too. A lot of online entrepreneurs, such as myself, such as yourself, we're in groups. We're, constantly around other people who are trying to just be killers, like absolute killers, 16 hours a day.
Yep.
And that's something that these guys don't really have. They don't have a giant community of just like, hey, we're killers, we're going in there. And it's interesting because I was recently talking to a guy which owns contracting.com, great company, by the way. And all the guys in their community, like all the guys in there are really successful. It's all because they all have the same culture of like, I want to achieve more, I want to achieve more, I want to achieve more. And they don't get their mindset corrupted. I'm not sure if that's something that you ever experienced, but whenever you start
Mhm.
to hang around old friends and at one point you just start to feel like it's corrupting you inside and you're like,
Yes.
fuck that, dude. I don't want that anymore. I want out.
Yes.
Do you ever feel like
Yep.
that?
Constantly. It's actually like it's one of my birthday presents to myself is to put a few arm lengths between me and some old friends. They've been my best friends for 15, 20 years now. Have you ever heard of the minivan analogy when it comes to separating yourself?
I haven't, no.
Okay. Okay, this is great. So, my way of dealing with shitty people used to be I used to cut you out. I delete your number, get rid of you on Facebook. Bye. Don't exist. I'm a ghost. Well, it doesn't feel good. I'll tell you that straight up. It doesn't feel good at all. So I want to say it was Alex Hermosi. He's one of those guys, Alex Hermosi, Andy Elliott, one of those guys that I listen to on a regular basis. That instead of cutting them out, think about your life as like a minivan. You are the driver of this van. Now, these people that you have sitting up here in the front seats with you, they're controlling the music. They're the GPS. They let you know when a bathroom break is coming up. The person that's bringing you down doesn't need to be sitting in that seat. They need to be 3 rows back. They're there. They're along for you with the ride, but you're not talking to them 3 times a day. You're not letting them influence you on where you're going, on where you're stopping. They're just a couple text messages a week. That's it. And if you put somebody up in that co-pilot position that does guide you in the right position, that does tell you, hey, it's time for you to take a break, it's time for you to get some rest, that hands over the music when you're losing motivation, that's the person you want riding co-pilot with you. So you don't need to cut those people off. You just need to put them in the back of the bus. And that's how I'm starting to align myself as well.
That's a really good analogy. I've never heard that. You say Alex Ramosi said
It
that?
was Alex Hermosi. Andy Elliott is one of those guys that I
I think
listen
it
to
might
on.
be Andy Elliott. I've never heard that from Alex Ramosi. I watched like pretty much all of his stuff, so
Yeah,
maybe
it
I missed
it
the video.
I really liked it though, and like that makes so much sense because I was feeling guilty about cutting some of these people off. They haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
They're just somebody that I can't be around because they'll have me make bad decisions.
Yeah. I actually recently cut away some of my one of my best friends, known them for a while now. And like you said, it's not about really cutting them, it's just putting, an arm length, and then every time you communicate, you just wait more time and more time. And at one point, like you're two different people. And one interesting thing that propped up in my mind is for anybody listening, how do you pick that person that's sitting next to you? Is that your
Mhm.
wife? Who is that? I would not never let my wife pick the music, but that's just me.
That seat changes a lot. It doesn't have to be the same person constantly. It can be changing, but what's important is that you have that seat available for somebody that you know is going to take you to the next spot. So like for when we were in our group, shall not be named, Ismail was my guy. Like we talked hours a day. He said, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. I need it done by this time. All right, Ismail, it's done. Consider it done. That's the person I needed riding shotgun with me. And now that I just had a daughter, she's 3 months old now, now my
Congrats.
wife, thank you. Now my wife is riding co-pilot. We're figuring out, how does she support an online business owner and a kid? I'm figuring out how do I support my wife and kid from this damn computer. And it changes constantly. I have a meeting later this week where we're going to be mapping out, our next 12 months. That person is going to be riding co-pilot with me for those 3 days while we map that out. So I don't think
Interesting.
it really matter who's there. It's matter who's not there. It's who's moving you forward. Just don't let anybody put you in reverse.
Interesting. Now, you say who isn't there, and how do you know if a person that's sitting next to you is dragging you closer to your goals? How do you evaluate that? Because obviously we
That's
know, but
so how do you pick?
how do you
That's
pick the person that's not riding with you? Yeah.
there's a rule that I like to follow. It's who's ever like 1 to 3 chapters ahead of you. So like again, Ismail is the perfect example. He was, I think, at like 15K a month or so when him and I started working together, and I was at maybe 3K or 4K a month. So he was just that one step. I had to dial in a few things, figure out a few different things in order to get up to that level. And he had just the right amount of information. You don't want somebody like it'd be foolish for me to have somebody like Grant Cardone or Alex Hermosi sit there because their advice isn't going to be applicable to what I'm doing. Their advice would be spend $10 million and go sell it for $12 million. Like, well, I don't have $10 million. But with Ismail, he was like, okay, you're going to spend 6 hours fixing this, adjust the shadow here, fix this over here, things that I didn't know, but they weren't so far out of my realm that I could actually grasp them. So having somebody just a couple chapters ahead of you that can kind of guide you in the right direction. And then when you get ahead of them, because that's going to happen, you find somebody new
Find somebody new. So you jump coaches slash mentors, is that what you're saying?
constantly,
Yeah, I
constantly.
found myself stagnating a lot in business whenever it's not even about the person that's coaching you too. It's about the people in the groups that you're surrounded yourself with, right? Especially, the groups we were in, you would be the smallest guy in the room, and then you become, one of the largest. And the difference between the two or three largest is, it's minimal. It's maybe luck or they did more input or whatnot. And to really take yourself to the next level, you got to change rooms. And you're
Yeah.
not always going to stick with the same people when you change rooms. So you have to be really careful about who you associate yourself with, who do you stick with. And, this is actually a question I wanted to ask you too. I've spent a lot into coaching, probably somewhere around $30,000, if not $40,000 at this point. That's nothing.
Yeah.
I'm a baby in terms of spending on coaching. Some guys spend $50,000 a quarter. My mentor does that. And so do you see that as a worth it expense for investment for somebody that doesn't have that person in their seat, that can't find that person to then pay to have somebody in that seat to guide them?
Yeah, not only it's required. Like even you have to go out and find that person, and chances are you're gonna have to pay them. And even if they don't ask for some sort of monetary, like maybe your, father-in-law or whatever is some business mogul, you're gonna have to pay them and be valuable to them in other ways. It shows them that you're being serious about it. You have to create win-win situations. People will say that, oh, friendships and business relationships aren't all about money. Yes, they are. Yes, yes, they
I
are.
agree.
Whoever says that is full of shit. They're lying. Like
Yeah.
this game is leverage. We're poor people and blue collar people were brought up to never brag, always work hard, and always stick to yourself. Well, those three things are what keep blue collar people blue collar. White collar, rich people were taught to constantly promote, be relentless in your promotion, leverage other people's skills. You don't need any skills, actually. You just leverage other people's and never ever stop. And those are
That's
the
very
things
true.
that will keep white collar people very white collar. And that's just a reframe that all blue collar guys got to go through.
Yeah. How much have you spent in coaching?
Oh
If you had to
God.
guess.
Um, Probably between 15 and 20.
15.
But I was able to work out some deals on the back ends where I did some joint ventures with some people. So some of them are still making money off me. Like we're hosting, so we have a live event in Seattle that I'm working on putting together for online business owners. I'll make sure to shoot you an invite when we're ready, but he's one of my mentors and we met a long time ago. He just broke $1 million this past month or two, and now we're throwing a in-person event at the Marriott in Seattle and taking over that. But again, he's somebody where I'm like, hey, you help me do this, I'll help you do this. We'll pull money together and we'll just split it up, or what we've done the last 3 times is we just reinvested it into something else. So like we rented a yacht, we decided that's what we wanted to do this time around. So Saturday night for all of us and our friends and whoever we invite, we rented a yacht to go out on Lake Union and be around the Space Needle. And like that's
That's
what we
pretty
decided to spend
cool.
our money on.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. Something just came to mind too. I was told once, and it's been true ever since, that it's crazy how much people will help you for free if you take their advice and you actually do it. Like if somebody, that's way above you, way further than you, gives you advice, and then 2 weeks later you text them like, "Hey, I did this, now I'm here." Like you would be surprised by, you know, the generosity of people. Because ultimately, a lot of the big guys, they're there because they like helping others. Right? They're not
Right.
just there for the money. And even if you're there for the money, you realize really quickly that the money is in other people. You have to,
Yeah.
actually care about others, genuinely care to make money working with them, or, them
Yep.
working for you. So, like anybody watching this, like if you know somebody, and you pay them for an hour of their time, and then you do all the things, and you text them back, and you're like, "Hey, I did all the things." Like they might just hop on a second call with you for free. I've had this happen. I've paid
Yeah.
my mentor uh a couple grand, and then I stopped paying him at one point, and he's still mentoring me because I
Yep.
do all the shit he says.
Yep.
I'm like his project.
I have somebody very, very similar. I paid to enter his program like 2 years ago. And it was cheap. It was like his beta program. I want to say it was less than $1,000. Dirt cheap. But I got him. Everything that he taught me, I took into SMMA, and I wouldn't been able to scale to about 30 grand without him. So I said, hey, use use me as a case study. I did everything that he did. He now uses me as a case study to close $12,000 deals every single day. So now naturally I'm in his highest Lux program, which is a $50,000 program that people like Russell Brunson have joined, that people like Tony Robbins have been a part of. And
Damn.
get to sit in the room with these people just because I did the things that he asked in the beginning. And now he uses me as a case study to sell to guys like that.
Wow, that's 50,000 a year or a month
A
or life
month,
a month
a
50K a
month,
month?
a month.
I want to be in that room, man.
It, dude, it's crazy. He was just in San Diego with Tony Robbins and Dean. Tony Robbins is business manager, Dean, but he was Snapchatting me or FaceTiming me. And it was like, dude, this is what it is. And what's crazy is when he sells these guys, they want like less than 20 minutes a week of his attention. They want one email a month. They just want it done. The higher product you have, the higher clientele you have, the less communications they want, which is wild.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's you really that's an interesting realization. Yeah, I guess when you do work with homeowners that have huge houses, like I'm talking like 5, 10 million, they're just like, yeah, just do the job.
Yeah. They're
Send me
pretty
the
much like,
invoice.
exactly. Leave me alone. I'm busy. If you
Yeah.
fuck it up, I'll sue you. Goodbye. That's,
Yeah,
that's
that's the one they
it.
don't tell you.
Yeah. Business is the exact same way. And you've probably learned this by working in a few different niches. Like the lower paying niches bother you more.
Yeah, firsthand.
Like the higher paying niches, they don't care. Like I'm running a podcast for a doctor right now. And he wants a half an hour phone call once every other week. And he pays his invoice on time. That's it. That's all he wants.
That's great. That's great. It's great that you can find those people still to this day. Even this is something I spoke with the last person I had a podcast. So I see a lot of contractors trying to grow their companies and they have a lot of limiting beliefs, right?
Mhm.
And it's a foreign concept to most guys, but also I'll just re-explain it. It's basically when you believe something and that belief stops you from being able to do other things, right? For example, if I
Mm,
believed I could never become a billionaire, why would I try? If I believed I
mm,
could, I'd probably try. So you have these self-limiting beliefs, and a lot of contractors think that, to grow bigger, they have to hire shittier people, or, it's too hard to hire more guys, or they
mhm.
have to lower their prices. They have to deal with
Yep.
more price shoppers. It's impossible. They have to manage too many jobs at once. They can't just
Yeah.
let the guys start the jobs. And every single one of these things I mentioned, I've heard before.
Oh
And
yeah.
they're like relatively easy to solve, like write more SOPs, do all these. It's like, how would you approach somebody that has these limiting beliefs to make them realize that they have those limiting beliefs?
So the first thing that I think a lot of these guys need to understand is that they don't have to do this alone. Just because like they've been able to start this by themselves, hire guys them by themselves, find an office building by themselves, doesn't mean that they have to operate the entire business by themselves. The first recommendation that I would make to anybody, especially, a true blue collar guy that started his own business and doesn't know how to operate a business, go spend the money and hire an operator. Let you work in your field of expertise and let them work in their field of expertise, and don't mix them. And yes, it will cut in your margins a little bit at first, but you can hire this person on the basis that they'll teach you, and you don't have to do it alone. You absolutely can turn any contracting business into a multi-billion-dollar business with a B. It's possible. It's being done right now. Um,
Pro.
yeah, exactly. Service, I mean, even here in Washington, like I worked for a HVAC company that was doing $50 million a year. No problem. And it was a relatively small company, less than 100 people. So the
Wow.
opportunities out there, it's just scaling, it's difficult, but their secret was they hired operators right away. Right away, they got people in the office that knew how to run and scale businesses.
Yeah. You know what's something that these guys don't leverage that I would absolutely leverage? In
Hmm.
the online space, which is relatively newer, I'd say, well, definitely newer
Yeah.
than running a painting company or whatever other type of company. It's really hard to find people who have been there and have done that, right? Have ran the entire thing, have hired all these people. But in the physical world, with contractors, like there are more than a handful, I can guarantee that, of people that have already ran your exact company and have scaled it beyond your imagination, right? And with good profit margins too.
Yeah.
And you don't need, like, especially if you pay them what they're worth, like they will come and they will turn your shit around. Like
Yeah,
genuinely.
100%.
We've already been there. They already know this is what a good painter looks like. This is what they eat in the winter. This is what a good estimator looks like.
Yep.
And then they just take all of that, do this, and then 10 months down the line, your company is like doubled, tripled, quadrupled, probably more
Yeah.
than that sometimes.
Yeah, more than that most of the time. I mean, you probably know this too. Contractors are type A's. They're type A people. Lots
Yeah.
of ego, lot goes into those conversations. And then the same thing that I was saying earlier, at the end of the day, most of these business meetups, even like the BNIs and like the contractor meetups and things like that, they're on like Wednesday afternoons at 11. These guys are too stuck in the field to do it, and then they're too scared of not knowing where their next job is to hire somebody to go do that for them so then they can go and make the connections outside of it. A lot of these guys, grew up very underprivileged, and they're afraid. I grew up poor as all hell. I still have a hard time spending money with 50 plus grand in my bank account. I still have a hard time spending, $6 on a gallon of milk because that's ridiculous.
That
But
is pretty fucking crazy.
but
Holy
that's what it
shit.
costs.
Well, rip milk, I guess. No more milk for you.
Yeah, yeah, but it's a hard thing to break, especially for these guys.
Yeah, go buy a yacht. That'll
Yeah,
help.
yeah. Go rent a yacht for a weekend. It's fine. Take care of your health. You'll be fine.
Yeah, no, 100%. How would you let's say, I was a contractor. What would you tell me the first thing I need to do in order to set myself back on the right path is? Is it going to be fixing my health? Is it going to be getting a mentor? Like I mean, obviously it's going to be different for everybody, but like you'd say what's the highest leverage thing somebody could do?
So, as a contractor, the most important thing and the first thing that's going to give out on you is your health. It's that, and I think being a doctor are the only two professions where I would say you have to take care of your health first. Just because the world is hard on you. You're carrying stuff, I mean, hundreds of pounds all day long. You're up early, you're bed late. Your health has to come first. And the amazing part about that is your days become easier when you get healthier. So if you get up a half an hour earlier than you need to and have a protein shake instead of McDonald's on your way to work, have a quart of water or two, don't watch TV first thing in the morning, maybe go for a walk. The rest of your day is 10 times easier than it was. Where if you skip those things, you rolled out of bed, you threw on your car hot, you hit McDonald's and you hit the job site. So I think the health has to come first and everything else gets way easier after that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Actually, funny that you mentioned that. Some of my most successful clients are actually athletes. Believe it or not. Now
I
that you
do believe
mentioned
that.
that, it makes a lot of sense. I never even connected the dots.
Yeah. I mean, when I was a contractor, one of the most successful months I ever had was when I started my first podcast. And it was because I had to wake up an hour earlier every day to record my show, edit it, publish it, and then I went to the gym afterwards. And any normal person hears that, it's like, wait a minute, you sound like you're going to be tired. No, I had more energy throughout every day because I was up earlier and feeling good by the time I made it to work.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think something else that a lot of guys need to start doing is doing putting time aside to do the things that actually move the company forward, right? Like believe it or not, like going and doing estimates and doing those things, like you're not actually growing your company, you're maintaining it.
Right.
And we both know if you're maintaining, you're dying.
You're dying.
So you need to put time aside where you go and, run your own ads or you go and, hire those door knockers or
Yep.
write those SOPs for the, how do you start the job site? How do you finish the job site? How do you get the reviews from the customers? So you don't have to be the one doing it. How do you go and pick up the materials?
Yep.
Then you hire an operator. Okay, how do you manage the crews? Like writing all these little things. It doesn't even be that complicated. I was talking to one of my clients and he was like, the bar's never been lower, Julian. It's genuinely never been lower. The SOPs that these guys use to run their company would make you laugh. It's like it works and it somehow works. And like our level of SOPs when we run online companies is maybe 3x, 5x, 10x what their SOPs are. And I mean, it's working, right? So you don't even need to be a genius. That's the
Yeah.
thing. It's almost ironic because they rather do barely more money, right? They rather like do a couple more hours of driving, a couple more estimates, then take like 5 hours a week, put that aside, learn like how to make SOPs, how to do these things, then be able to manage more crews, and then production can increase like crazy, right? Like they
Right.
almost rather do the short-term benefit stuff than the long-term benefit stuff. And any day of the week, I rather free up 40 hours of my week, do the thing that I know in 10 months I'll be making $10 million a year, then keep doing $1 million a year. Why would I ever consider that for a second? It's like, well, fuck my million. I'll just do 20K this month, and then in 10 months or a year I'll be doing 10 million, right? Just
Huh.
figurative numbers, but
Yeah.
it's
I just made this connection in my head as you were saying that. So as a builder, as any sort of contractor, you have to do things to a perfect spec. Like when you're a framer, things have to be at perfect 90. When you work in refrigeration, things have to be to a perfect temperature, perfect pressure. So I think, oh wow, this is such a mind-blowing thing for me because I struggle writing SOPs still to this day. I struggle writing them. But the thing that really switch it over for me is just allowing myself to create version ones of things. Like, okay, it's okay if this is really sloppy and a complete mess and doesn't work because it's a V1. Where as you learn something as a builder, you don't get to have a version one. It's perfect or it's fucked. There's no in between. So when you tell a builder, hey, like, yeah, I need you to learn this skill, I want you to spend each quarter learning some skill that helps move the needle, what they think in their brain is, oh, this thing has to be perfect because that's what their trade tells them. They don't get to have a version one. It has to be perfect or not at all. So they're like, oh man, like I can't just like sloppily go through this. It needs to be absolutely dialed. And if it's not dialed, what's the point? And
yeah.
most of the time their brain just goes, what's the point? And that's something I literally am conflicted with every day. Every day I'm building out something new right now. So I'm writing out SOPs and stuff constantly for it. And I struggle because I'll get stuck on one sentence and how the word doesn't look right. And I'm like, oh man, it's not perfect. And I'm like, wait, just go to the next step. It's fine. You'll go back. When one of your team members notices that this doesn't work, they'll let you know, you fix it then, move on.
Oh yeah, that's the best thing about these kinds of companies is that you can break shit and keep going and it's fine, right? It usually isn't the end of the world. So
Right.
it's definitely a nice benefit.
Yeah. And I remember learning things. Like I was supposed to go, yeah, next month, August, I was supposed to go do this HVAC training, but I don't have to now because I'm at home now, thank goodness. But I was thinking to myself, like, wow, that would be absolutely miserable because I know it's going to be a week of just dense, heavy information. And if you get it wrong, you'll hurt yourself or hurt somebody else. And that's really taxing where I can go watch 5 hours of YouTube videos, pick up a brand new skill and go make $500,000 with it tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. You were going to go do that as in like you're still working with them or was that
No,
a...
I was originally scheduled for them when I was with my last company.
Ah, okay, I see.
It was set for I think August 8th or August 9th. I was supposed to go spend a week in Arkansas in
Oh
the fucking
boy.
middle of the summer to go do training. And yeah, no, not doing it. Thank goodness.
Well, good for you, man. I wouldn't want to do that either.
No, dude, it's not me. It's not me. So let's talk about just kind of like the like getting out of the trades because I think a lot of these guys, I don't think they have an exit plan,
Well,
which
yeah,
I
they're
think is a
married to their
huge,
business.
yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest things that holds everybody back in business. The first thing you should establish is how much do you want to sell it for? Because let's be real. Nobody wants to own their business until the day that they die. Like that's just not right. And if you do, we got to talk because you have a whole another problem. We got to fix that. And I think it's really, really important, especially the guys with families, with wives and kids, and maybe they're taking care of their in-laws and things like that. It's important to establish where you want to go so you can start working towards there. I think that's another big reason why some of these guys get stuck in that loop is because they don't have any destination that they're going to. Their dad was a tradesman, their dad was a tradesman, they died a tradesman, I'll die a tradesman. But if
Yeah,
you ask them if they wanted to do that, they're like, no, it's just shmee. It is what it is.
just kind of happened. Yeah.
Yeah. And if we can set, like I know with my business, like I want to scale to 1 million a month. So a $12 million business, I want to sell for a 5x multiple and peace out
$1 million a month in profit or in revenue?
in profits.
Profits. Okay, yeah. Well, you
Yeah.
got some road ahead of you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We got, easy 10 years, which is fine. That's what I plan. I want to be able to retire. I want to have the option to retire right at 40.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's perfect for me. We'll take a $12 million company. We'll sell it for 60 and see you later. I'm done. I did it. Like and
Sell
I
it for
know that's where I'm
60,
going. Yeah.
buy the private jet, everything a
Yeah.
contractor wants. Just
Yeah.
kidding.
Oh, my wife and I have a
Infinite
night.
camping gear, guys.
Yeah, for us, we have a plot in Texas that we want. We're going to build a house on it. I have a couple family members that we want to build land for or build houses for. I come from a very poor, broken family. And now that I have a daughter and a wife, I want to make sure that my daughter and wife have the most perfect, they have everything that I could never have. And they'll be able to grow up and pass that land on to the next and on to the next, on to the next. And that's what's important to me. And I figured about $60 million will do that.
Yeah, that's great. Something else that a lot of contractors don't have that you mentioned is a really clear goal. And this is actually something I went through recently. I thought that my goal was a dollar amount. Okay, I'm gonna pay like 20 million. That's gonna be great. And then somebody challenged that. They said, "Well, once you're at 20 million, are you just gonna stop?" And I was like, "Well, no, I'm not gonna stop." Okay, so your goal really isn't 20 million. You have something
Right.
that's way bigger than that.
Right.
Well, that's right. So it made me think, and what I could think of is that I really want to just build something that I'm proud of, help people, genuinely create something that has a big brand that helps a lot of people that I can genuinely be proud of when, I'm older and whatnot. And when I exit, I'm talking like 20, 30, 40 years down the line. And now that I've had this clear vision, I've been able to essentially reorganize my entire life in the last week. I'm talking this is live. And now I'm like super clear on what I want to do. I'm super clear on everybody I have to talk to. I'm super clear on where I have to invest my money. And this is something that not a lot of guys do. They think that, okay, well, I've hit this plateau in my company. I'm doing about, 500K a year. Oh, I just don't really want to grow. Or, they'll put in some, excuse that isn't really true that, if they really had the option, they wouldn't be there every day, right, on the job sites. But because they feel like it would take so much energy to learn all the different things that they would need to even get there, it seems like it's such a big gap. They kind of forget to just take things one step at a time. And you
Yeah.
get
Right.
lost in that sometimes. You learn so much too fast, and you're like, whoa, this thing is like massive. And then
Yeah.
you just like, I give up. No, I don't want that. And
Yeah.
you don't have to. You can just keep going one step at a time. Like, not a lot of guys do that. They don't get clear on their goals so that they then know what's their step by step to get there. And they get, they think about, oh, I want to do this, and it's so big and it just seems really scary. But in reality, if I wanted to exit for $100 million, I just have to take the next step. What's the next thing that will possibly get me closer to that? Like life is just aiming in the dark, man. You have a little target, you're here, and as long as you're pointing all the rays in the right direction and you're aiming towards your goal, you will at one point get there, right? You might go over here and then over there and then over there and then maybe back
Yep.
a little bit and then it's like you're gonna get there, but you just need to keep moving. And that's what these guys the big guys that fail, they just stop moving. They think that, okay, I've hit it, I'm gonna plateau here, that's cool. No, you have to continuously move to really hit your goals.
Yeah. And I'm gonna challenge you one more time because your mentor did a really, really good job. It's not a dollar amount, but it's also not just helping people. It's not just leaving something you're proud of. You got to figure out the why behind those two things that you said. You made it to the next step, but it's the why behind the why because you could pretty much pull anybody in the entire world. You say, well, what do you want to do with your life? Well, I want to help people. Why? What drives you to want to help people? And the thing that gets really uncomfortable about this is it's probably going to be something or an event that happened to you that you reflected poorly on, and you want to make sure that nobody feels that way. It almost always comes
Mm.
down to an emotion or something that you went through that you want to stop from happening to other people. So like I know for me, yeah, like I have my goal of I want to exit at, $60 million, but I grew up extremely alone. My mom had me at 19. Obviously, she worked. I didn't grow up with any family, no grandparents, no dad, no brothers, no sisters, no cousins, no aunts, nothing. It was just my mom and I. When I started walking, pretty much she started going to work and leaving me alone. I want to make sure whether you're a single mom or a single dad or whatever, I want to make sure that nobody has to feel that loneliness again. Um,
Wow.
and
That's Wow, that's a crazy
And
story.
and that's what I'm working towards. And that means a lot of different things for this agency that I'm building right now. I'm creating a position for single moms to be able to work from home so they don't have to leave their kids. I'm creating something for high school students that will be able to make some money so they can help provide too. That's my why behind the why. Yeah, I want to help people. Yeah, I want to make money, but I want to make sure that nobody feels that loneliness. And this is my impact. That's what I'm going to do. So find that position, whatever it is, good, bad, negative, and figuring out what you want to make sure nobody feels. There's your answer.
Fuck, man, I thought I had it, but then you challenged it again. I'm gonna have to go think some more.
Yeah.
Genuinely, you can't come up with these answers on the spot, man. These are
It
tough answers.
yeah, it took me a long time to figure that out. And us as guys, we were told to bury that shit. Bury
Yeah.
it deep so nobody hears it. That's some weak, brokey minded shit right there, is what that is. It's you need to lean with that, and every piece of you needs to lean. You need to operate from that. You don't need to go around crying to everybody and, oh, woe's me. I've never made a Facebook post about that, but I know that that's what I'm operating about. And I know every decision that I make is one step closer to my exit, which is one step closer to the life that I want to build for my family, is one step closer to maybe one person, one single mom or one kid that doesn't have to feel lonely.
That's great, man. Where can people find you? What are you selling them? Who can you help? Tell us.
That's great. So you can find me pretty much on all socials at Braxton Curtis _ YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I also have a group that will be live by the time this goes called the Legacy Creator Network, where I'm helping busy business owners like yourself create a content machine that will help drive sales, leads, all things like that, through ways of podcasts, YouTube videos, all sorts of things. Also in the middle of writing a book that will be published along Jess Hughes, who's a New York Times bestseller called Radical Love. And I think that's all I got right now. That's all I
Cool.
got for now.
Well, I'll put those links in the description for anybody listening that's interested. And well, thanks so much for your time, Braxton. Honestly, it was I think a great chat that we had. A lot of interesting things. So, well, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks, Julian. I will come on any day. Let's chat again and see how much money we've made, huh?
Awesome. Well, that was a pretty interesting conversation. Again, his links are going to be down below if you're interested in checking his stuff out, seeing what he does. And of course, if you're running a painting company anywhere between 250K to even $1 million a year and beyond, and want to partner up with us, want more qualified estimates scheduled directly in your calendars, then our links are going to be down below as well. And if you like this kind of content and you want more of that, then just hit the subscribe button, hit that like. It really just lets me know that this is the kind of stuff you guys want more of, so I can just give you more of what you guys want. And maybe we'll see each other on the inside. Cheers.